So I'm not gonna lie, they somehow found a way to beat the sus allegations in the do-over Damsel. Now, there's still gonna be some people, I'm sure, who will say, well, he still very much wants to marry this little girl. There's a whole big bag of answers and ways to explain this. The TLDR to me is it very comes across as one, he mentally does not feel the age he is. I really think he has like an MJ situation going on here. And the idea of what a husband and wife is probably very different than what we're looking at. I don't think the guy has a sexual bone in his body, let's be honest. But two, given that we know he really never had a family, his family completely got rid of him, I think really marriage to him is having a family. And if anything, I get more of a vibe of Elias and Shisei from the Ancient Magus Bride than I do anything else. But the biggest thing, and I think what really sells this, is that they properly confirm and finalize why he needed a girl under the age of 14. We knew it was related to the curse, but we officially have our answer. Because anyone over the age of 14 could be possessed by the crazy psychotic shadow spirit that wants to be his one and only wife, who no longer has a body, but is clearly haunting him, which now explains why people are magically dying around him, because I guarantee you the reason why he's rising to the top and anyone who can oppose him gets killed because she probably wills it as such. And the idea that he was so ready to kill Sphere, which honestly I think was probably the right outcome, logically, because she had a physical body in that case, so I imagine that was probably the only way, but at the same time, killing her might as well just free the spirit to go try again. And now we're in a situation where he's essentially at face value kidnapping anyone above the age of 14, because those are the people that could, well, be possessed. Just wild stuff, but I gotta admit, the pace at which they're explaining everything, but also blowing our minds, is actually way faster than I anticipated, but I think is the proper pacing so that we don't get the wrong idea on our boy in question. Great stuff. Of course, I have a lot of reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my full and good thoughts to any of these episodes, it's over there exclusively. I definitely think this is an undervalued show, and within 5 episodes, they've actually explained more than I think a lot of authors would have done in probably a couple of seasons. I feel like most authors put in this situation would have made the kind of sus vibe of these two more ambiguous and less clear-cut for a long period of time, where this one's basically saying, hey, listen, no matter what, it's going to have some weird energy to it. You can't deny it. But the reason behind it is that, well, one, because of the curse. Two, the dude really never had a family, so for him, like, given that he doesn't give off any pervy nature, you're not really supposed to assume he's about to do so. It doesn't change the fact that ultimately we're building into them marrying, and eventually they probably would do stuff. I mean, you can't deny that. I'm still going to hold on to the hope that Sphere ends up as the actual wife, but, you know, I appreciate how they wrote it, because to beat the sus allegations as much as they have is next to impossible, but the idea of, you know, the legend that has been told over the past couple of episodes, we get the full picture in this episode in terms of, you know, we lose the barrier, but then she loses the body and she can never properly return. That is, unless she possessing people left and right. And that's really interesting to me because, you know, when she comes in, you know, Sphere that is, because ultimately what ends up happening is her dad gets killed. I don't believe the spirit did it. I fully believe douchebag incest prince did it, because ultimately what ended up happening with this situation is he was beating the allegations that he was cursed, because anyone who opposes him ends up dying. And the fact that he was imprisoned and, you know, it was looking good for him, and then apparently he hung himself. We've heard that before, even in our own world. And the idea that now it paints him as a cursed prince, and then add in the fact that he had to do something so extreme like gather anyone up who's above the age of 14, you know, it's like, it pretty much does everything wrong towards him at face value, but it's the right option given that something's trying to be his eternal wife, and the spirit's the only one who's allowed to be, you know, this gotta be cray-cray. Like, there's no other way to put it. But how do you explain that to people, right? Like, it's not looking good. And then you add in the fact that you end up with this drama between our central two, and, you know, him ultimately ending up protecting her by using the dragon, and him having to cut people down. I wasn't sure why he was getting jumped at first. I thought it was just a simple case of, well, you know, people are turning on him. it's actually a lot more tragic. So the one dude, as he's basically dying on the floor after he slashes the 3 guards who tried to jump him, are basically like, give us back our wives and daughters, and you know, stuff like that. It's like, okay, at face value, the general public looks at this heir to be as someone who's kidnapping their women. Like, anyone's gonna jump him for that, right? Like, it's a reasonable thing to do. But how do you salvage his reputation after this? Like, it does feel next to impossible. Now, the only flip side that might work is if we end up passing the blame onto Incest Prince, because the sister banger, it could work in our favor, but probably not. Like, the dude's playing the role well. Like, he comes in and basically he's just ready to be an absolute douchebag, and he lives up to it. And for how comfy the episode actually started off, I mean, the fact that the dude comes all this way and he's basically like, hey, you're in the middle of our lover's quarrel, and it's like, oh my god, to then just end how they did. It's a bloodbath, man. Like, this is actually gonna be a bloodbath, and it's impressive how, when you look at the first couple of episodes, right, you don't get the impression they're really gonna, like, go into why he needs someone under the age of 14 so soon. And once they really start doing it, and I mean, prior to this episode, we all most likely assumed, like, it's related to the curse, but to get the proper answer as to why, and that being because she can't possess someone who's under the age of, it's like, okay, now things are starting to make sense. But then it brings up the question, like, what was his plan, you know, after she turns 14? Like, does he just continuously get new brides? Like, it's really hard to say, right? But at the end of the day, having someone who can't be possessed, then therefore not be used against him, it's an interesting but tragic way to handle it. But I gotta say, this show has definitely surprised me. It's undervalued, underappreciated for sure, but I think for those of us who have been keeping up with it, you know, it's doing something special. I mean, there was one funny shot this episode when I actually generally like when there's like no detail to the face, because I think it's a clever way to get around having to animate face details. But that one shot of the noses all running up was actually kind of hilarious, and I was like, okay, that didn't look good, but at least you got me a laugh out of this one. I'm excited for next episode, but damn, it is not looking good. Gerald be a dick. He's just, him and crazy Shadow Bitch is, it's ruining Christmas. Let me know your thoughts and feelings, and definitely theories on where we go from here. What are you thinking? Are you as impressed as me with how they've revealed so much so soon? Because really, this never really happens in anime. They keep it a long con game. And I think because they revealed it so early, it lets more people accept the show not as creepy. At least that's how I'm feeling. But your thoughts down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell. Like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. So today we got Brian Missit, Big Red, Waka866, Andy, Anime Fan 2019, Fat Nuggies, and we also have Banjo Silk. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.